Definitely design studio in here. So it's just such a nice space in here, and just, you know, lots of blood, sweat and tears, but it's all worth it in the end. So
it's a very kind of self-paced environment. Some people come in here and make something really quick, other people will be in here like every hour of every day.
Find it a good atmosphere to do work in.
So this is Design Studio 1, and it's one of 6 studio units in the course, and I refer to studio as being the backbone of our course because it really forms the whole strength of what makes our BFA fashion course.
Yeah, well I've started that.
Try to encourage that autonomy of learning where Studio 1, in theory, is not that much different to Studio 4 or 5 or 6 at times, except for the ramp up of skills and expectations.
We also try to establish in that first semester that we respect the individual designer, that they don't have to be designing like the person next to them or whatever. They have a unique style and we want to encourage that, and we'll respect that for the next 3 years.
That truck idea.
And I think the beautiful thing is that even though we're starting from the beginning and some people may not have that fashion background, we do invite them to bring the prior experience they do bring, whether it be visual arts or building or architecture or whatever they're interested in, to their practice as a designer, and that individuality is celebrated.
And we're trying to encourage risk takers where they won't be laughed at for trying something that's different, and that's what creativity and fashion is all about.
We have many approaches in the studio unit to assist trying to get to that pathway of autonomy.
Like the sock project, which just goes for the first 2 weeks, because it can sort of allow those students to experiment and present their work to their peers and sort of gauge the expectations and sort of get a little bit of feedback and positive reinforcement that their individuality is going to be supported in a course.
The idea of the project is that they're given X number of socks and have to design a garment from that. It's quite a beautiful exercise where it shows that people have no right or wrong aesthetic. It's very much about their taste, and they have to run with that strength of their particular taste. And it also shows that you can make garments without necessarily great making skills.
I can quickly find out how the students want to learn, whether they'll go and draw, whether they'll research, whether they'll cut the socks and put them straight onto a dummy. So that gives me insight into how the student behaves. We line all the garments up, and they then start to appreciate that theirs is different, that is as worthy a design as anyone else's in the class. From then on, they seem to move forward a lot more confidently.
A lot of us work here after hours as well.
We get to come in here and work with like a lot of friends, and you can kind of like bounce ideas with people. I find being in a creative environment is just so much more inspiring.
We have a very open access policy in our studio here, which works superbly well because most of the learning could be argued that actually happens outside class, with third years helping first years, and you know, very much peer-to-peer within each class.
As well as that, it's kind of a family, isn't it, too? So it's important to get to know your peers. You'll be with them for a long time. They'll be a support network, so actually coming to class and engaging with them is really important.
And is it just self-lined?
It's lined.
Okay.
We also in the course have many points where they can expose their work in industry settings. We have industry guest speakers come in, we have industry practitioners on panels.
Those of you that have the ability to interpret the commercial reality with what you do will be successful.
So we very much embed industry alignment and real world teaching in our course and studio.
We put so much effort and time into these presentations, but you wouldn't do it unless you loved it.
I feel our course, the way we've structured the assessment, having a design presentation, then a sample review and a final presentation, really mimics how industry would work with the development of sample creation. We're very prescriptive in what we ask them to do, but in that prescriptive, there's a really openness that comes. But you're happy with sort of the unevenness of the...
Yeah, that's what I was sort of...
Yeah, cool. No, well, no, there's no rights or wrongs in this. It's your taste, it's your style. Challenge of trying to find a balance between allowing students to run very much with their own aesthetic, own needs, but still have a structure.
We encourage them to be reflective about that project and think about how they actually worked, so they can start to know themselves and their process.
We've got tutors that are always available for us to ask questions. You can spend all day with a tutor kind of helping problem solving.
They actually get formative feedback constantly. Although they often don't realise it's formative feedback, they're getting formative feedback more than any other unit they possibly could get.
Yeah, I feel it's a very personal approach we have with students because we have relatively small cohorts within the BFA of Fashion. that we have a very intimate experience for feedback about the course. But she just talked about some of the background to digital printing.
Fashion changes all the time, so you have to change your teaching, what you're offering the students on a regular basis to meet those demands of industry.
In the evaluation of assessment for studio units, we're always improving or trying to find a better model.
We can't sit back and say, this has worked this year and we'll still be doing that in 5 years. We'll be lucky if it's still doing it in 12 months' time.
Fostering that uniqueness of an individual, that's what Studio One's really about. In fact, I often joke that it wouldn't be surprised we'll see a QUT tattoo one day on some of our students. You know, they feel very much branded to our course, that because you ask our students, you know, what do they do? And in the media, they'll always sound they're a QUT Fashion student. They're not a QUT student, they're a QUT Fashion student.